All right, everybody, welcome to another episode of the Mic'd Up Outdoor Podcast. I am your host, Josh Tanner, and today I have with me a guest who actually has been kind of hanging out at my house for the last 2 days. He's actually my tile guy. He was doing some backsplash for me, and I asked him if he would be interested in doing a podcast with me, just simply because he is someone who I highly... I just think he's just a great fisherman, and I asked him to be on the podcast. So today's guest is Nathan Derdowski. Nate, thanks for showing up today, dude. Thanks for doing the backsplash, too. It looks freaking awesome.
Not a problem.
So wife is very happy about that. But, Nate is kind of one of our local just tournament bass guys.
Yeah.
I mean, do a ton of just free fishing yourself, but mainly a bass fisherman, mainly Michigan-based.
Yeah. I fish a lot of the local trails around here, and then started branching out into some of the national stuff via qualifying through the local tournaments.
Right. So, and I mean, I guess to start, just tell everybody a little bit about yourself, what you do, kind of where your roots are kind of from, and as far as getting into the bass fishing, who got you into it.
Yeah, so I just basically grew up fishing by myself.
Yeah.
Honestly, I started walking the banks of the Tidwassee River when I was in middle school.
Okay.
And just kind of took that, eventually got one of the inner tube float tubes, for fly fishing.
Yeah.
Got one of those, and I was floating down the Tid on that. And then I bumped up to an aluminum canoe, and I took that all over the place. And then I got a 12-foot rowboat, basically, with a trolling motor on it, and took that all over the place up to Traverse City and all the lakes around here. And
when you got your license, you were on the road.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's cool, man. I think that's awesome because I think in today's age, I guess there's still a lot of kids that's how they start out too, but there's also a lot of kids that I've seen. We were talking about the one kid that's fishing the Bassmaster Classic, which is honestly going on this weekend while we're recording this podcast. Trey McKinney, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if he started out fishing out of a canoe or a float boat
way.
Because he's fishing out of a $150,000 bass boat right now, so I don't know who financed his setup, but anyway, so that's you mainly just basically started kind of the local stuff here in central Michigan.
Yeah, honestly, I didn't start tournament fishing until about 3 years ago.
Oh, really? Okay, I didn't know that.
Yeah, the old Ranger.
Okay,
Because honestly, I just fished by myself up until I started fishing with Ben, and we never really fished tournaments. We just did the smallies and local lakes around here. Yeah,
and I mean, Derds and I met through a mutual friend of ours, Ben Nowak, who I actually had on a podcast here. I think it was last year around the same time, and we just all kind of hit it off. We all had the same interests and stuff, so I mean, that's just kind of how we started. But, I mean, you are primarily a bass fisherman.
I mean, that's about it.
That's
I catch an accidental walleye or steelhead or something.
But
here
you are not targeting anything other than bass.
No.
Whether it be smallmouth, largemouth. Do you have a preferred? Like, would you rather fish smallies or would you rather fish largemouth?
It's so tough to say, honestly. I mean, I love doing the shallow water, Saginaw River, largemouth style fishing, but we have the world-class smallmouth fishing in our backyard here in Michigan.
Yeah.
And it's not just the Great Lakes. I mean, it's a ton of inland lakes, so that takes up a ton of my time in the fall. I mean, basically, my schedule is tomorrow it starts, right? Like tomorrow I'm going out bass fishing.
Right.
And from there, I'll do some fun fishing largemouth, but it's going to be predominantly smallmouth focused.
Okay.
And then we jump straight into tournaments.
Right.
Practice, pre-fish, all that all summer, and then jump straight into trophy smallmouth at the end of the year.
Gosh, they're so fun to catch too.
Mm-hmm.
So when you got into the tournament end of it, like what made you decide to do that? Just basically because...
I mean, I played sports growing up, so there's always that competitive
edge.
Yeah. And it gets to a point, Ben and I have had this conversation a lot, where when you're out fun fishing and we're so lucky to have what we have, especially with the smallmouth in terms of size.
Yeah.
The cool thing about when you fish a tournament is sometimes that 2.5 pounder, like one of my favorite tournament memories was fishing with Mike Goodwin.
Okay.
And I caught a 14-incher on Sugar Springs that filled out our 5-fish limit. And it was when it was fishing real tough, remember?
Yeah.
And I can remember Mike going, "That's a way, Derds, let's go." I mean, it's a 14-incher, and you're getting,
Right.
you're hugging.
Yeah,
and
yeah. Because you knew it was gonna. You knew it was gonna
needed
get
it.
you. Yeah, gonna get you your your limit or your bag, weight, whatever you needed for that particular tournament. So
Yeah.
I mean, is that you're primarily fishing what tournaments?
So-
or what I guess what series? Because there's a ton of different like series, I guess.
Yeah.
What they call them? Yeah.
You could fish a circuit.
A
I'd say.
circuit. Yeah.
You
yeah.
could fish every day of the week a tournament if you
Okay.
wanted to in Michigan once
Yeah.
summer rolls around. But I primarily this year I'm stepping back. I was fishing the payback solo stacks last year.
Okay.
But I wanted to be able to put all my focus and my time into the Angler's Choice and the Bassmaster Team Series with John.
Okay.
That
Okay.
we're fishing this year.
Yep. Yep.
So those are the two that I'll be fishing primarily.
And those start when?
Opening weekend.
Opening weekend. Okay.
So,
Which is
Memorial
when
Day.
yeah, okay, Memorial.
Yep.
Yeah. But you'll obviously, you're going to start fishing tomorrow. So, I mean, we just on most all the lakes, I mean, ice off is just happened. Like,
Just happened.
like
Within
literally within the last week or so.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we hit some warm temps and the ice went off. And I mean, I'm sure there's still some northern lakes that have some ice on them.
Yeah, there's some stuff up north that I've got a few contacts up north just asking, hey, how's the ice doing? Are we ready or
Yeah, for
not?
sure.
So it doesn't sound like it's quite ready
Quite
yet.
ready, yeah. And I mean, the water temp's got to get to a reasonable, temp. So, do you like? I mean, what's your favorite time of year to fish?
For smallies, I mean, the fall here is it's incredible. I mean, I'm sure you saw some of my Instagram
Yep.
stuff from last year
Yeah.
where it felt like last year you could go out and catch 27 pounds every trip.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I mean, I am a deer hunter by heart, first and foremost. But
Yeah, it makes the fishing that much better for the guys like us
and
that
that's
stay
the
out
thing,
there.
man. Like I've gone out in October before, and smallmouth fishing out on Saginaw Bay, and absolutely we wrecked them. And I just thought, oh my gosh, I can see how guys who are kind of not deer hunter, don't do that sort of thing. Or, maybe you're a salmon fisherman because that's a great time. Fall is a great time of year
Right.
to fish for salmon. But, like, the smallmouth bass fishing in the fall is incredible.
Like I
Like,
said,
it's insane.
It's world class.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't beat it. And then
Yeah.
up here in the spring, I mean, you know how dumb the largemouth bite is in the spring
yeah.
here. When that ice comes off and they haven't seen a lure in 4 or 5 months.
Right.
I mean, they are dumb. And me and Johnny went out last spring for his.
Yeah.
I took him out for his birthday.
Okay.
I had one of those sneaky little spots. and,
Okay.
I mean, we caught 100.
Oh, my God. You're
100
kidding
of
me.
them.
Really?
It was literally you'd power pull down and you'd catch them every cast for 20 minutes.
Right.
And then they'd stop biting and you'd, trolling motor up one cast length, power pull down again for 20 minutes. And we just did it. We were like kids in a candy store.
That's crazy.
I mean, we were just giggling and John's going, oh, what do you think's
Yeah.
going to happen when I throw back in there, Derds?
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
we're going to get bit, buddy.
Yeah, it is super cool. Do you have a particular let me ask you this. Do you think that somebody just starting out like you did with a float boat or a canoe or a little 12 or 14 foot boat, do you think that they could compete with some of the guys that have like, let's just say a big bass boat on like a local inland lake?
100%. Because I did.
Yeah.
Like when I first started tournament fishing, you saw the boat that I fished out of.
Yeah.
It was a 1985 Ranger with
It was
100 horse.
it was a clapped out Ranger, but it floated and it ran.
It floated, it started, and
Yeah.
it had a trolling motor on it. And a
Yeah.
lot of that stuff I was doing with 2D. Like I didn't have scope. I
Okay.
had side imaging, but it was a
Yep.
7-inch side imaging unit.
Yep.
So I would just go out and practice and learn the lakes better than, anybody else. That was
Yeah.
what I tried to do, is put in more time than the other guys that were just going to go out and, I mean, granted, it's a Thursday night or whatever.
Sure.
That's where you start,
Right. Right. Yeah. I think that a lot of people think that they have to have the electronics and all of the forward facing sonar and stuff right now. And don't get me wrong, all that stuff is just like another tool in the toolbox of fishing. But I think you really cut your teeth, especially with fishing, just fishing. I mean, naturally, I guess, or without any of those things.
Right.
Just so you can kind of understand maybe, a technique or what the fish are looking for. It makes you pay more closer attention to, I don't know. I mean, just a lot of things.
Well, and it's like anything, like for what I was doing upstairs, tile work.
Yeah.
You can start out and I mean, I could have said all that with just a grinder.
Right.
But then the more that you get into it, the more, I have two wet saws out there. I've got this, I've got that. I've got all these different tools that make my job more efficient, more easier, as I've gotten more into it. But to start and to learn the basics and how to actually do the process of setting tile or bass fishing or whatever it is.
You start out with what you can afford and you just work from there.
Well, I'm sure, I don't know anything about deer hunting, so correct me if I'm wrong, but you could start out with a pair of binoculars. You don't need all the fancy trail cams and all the...
No, yeah, I mean...
You know what I mean?
You can just go out in the woods and sit up next to a tree. As long as you got a weapon, whether it be a bow or a rifle or a crossbow or whatever.
And still shoot a big deer.
It still shoot a big deer, yeah. You just have to kind of get more dialed in, you just have to be on more of a personal level maybe with it when you're first starting out. Because I remember when I was young, we were just like you, started fishing from the bank, kind of understood what was going on at certain times of the year. You'd read articles at that time, which, I don't know if many people read magazines anymore, but there's a lot of social media stuff that people can read. And I think just like anything, any sport or activity or anything, there's so much more information now than there ever was.
I think that is a huge thing. Why you see the young guys coming up is just the ease of access to information.
Yeah. The learning curve is way different.
Right. And and that's everything. That's not just fishing. That's everything. The access to information that we have anymore is just incredible.
It's incredible.
It really shortens that learning curve.
Yeah. And the access to people that are quote unquote professionals is way easier. Like
you can send a DM to Kevin Van Dam or whoever.
That's what I'm saying. People who were untouchable or unreachable, when I was young, like you only read about those folks in magazines.
Right.
Now you literally could get on a social media page, whether it be Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, whatever, and you could send a direct message to that person. And a lot of times, these guys will answer.
Well, right. And that's kind of what my mentality was. You're kind of like a little nervous to message
Absolutely.
Them, but it's their job. It is their job to sell you their product and explain to you why it works. And if you ask the right questions, they'll give you the right answer. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Not just a generic.
They're salesmen. They want to sell the product that they're probably getting a kickback on. But for the most part, if say you're talking a technique or something, guys will give up a lot of information because they want to see young people get into the sport.
Right.
Just like I want to see and you want to see, that's how it continues on. So, those are the things that are pretty awesome about the way social media is and learning stuff. So, but like the amount of techniques that there is for bass fishing is unbelievable.
Oh yeah.
Like if you had to put a number on how many techniques for catching bass, what would that number be?
What I typically do in a season, 10, 15 different ways that you're catching them, if not more.
Yeah.
And that's, I'm talking like broad strokes, right? Like jig fishing or flipping or docks or, sight fishing, spot and stalk or deep structure fishing or all sorts of stuff.
To be able to do all of those things and do them well takes years of time and educating and learning and really you only learn that stuff by doing it. Exactly. You can read about it all day long, but until you get out into these actual situations.
Well, it's just like even the live scope thing. You can read about and see how easy it is or whatever on Bassmaster Live.
It looks easy. It looks like you just show up, you put your trolling motor down and you scan and there they are and cast to them. But
it's simple.
It can be that simple.
It can be.
Once you learn it.
Right. But to go back to what you were originally saying about having the technology and starting out, like not having the technology and learning how to read fish and understand and watch and learn and pay attention to all the different variables that are playing right now. And then you add that into it, the live scope, being able to see the reactions of the fish and what they're doing when you present a lure a certain way.
Actually it's almost like you're underwater with the fish.
You can see underwater.
You can see what they're doing and how they seeing how they react to a bait is huge.
Right.
Because you instantly know that whether a technique is working or not working.
Exactly.
So, but all that comes with a price.
Yeah.
I mean, what's the average forward-facing sonar, whether it be Humminbird or Garmin or
$2 to $3 grand.
Yeah, yeah, which most people don't throw that at it, but a lot of people do throw that at it. So, like you've got it on your rig
Yep.
now.
100%.
Yeah, yeah.
And
So
I was telling you earlier when we were just talking off camera, like, I hate when that's what I have to do in
Yeah.
a tournament,
Yeah.
but I couldn't fish without it.
yeah,
It's such a powerful tool for me. But it kind of loops back into what I was also telling you, like one of my favorite ways to catch them, particularly smallmouth, is sight fishing.
Okay.
And not on a bed.
Okay.
But like being able to watch and engage with that fish and understand. And it's not just being able to watch the fish.
right.
Like I have a whole system when it comes to spot and stalk or
Okay.
sight fishing smallmouth.
Yeah.
I mean, it's how you move the boat, it's how you position the boat, it's how you make your cast, it's when you make your cast. Is
Yeah.
that fish ready to be caught? You know, did you
Sure.
blow him up? Is he ready?
Yeah, and all of that is learned through just time spent on the
Time
water.
and
Yeah.
messing up a lot.
A lot, yeah, yeah, and learning from that mistake on why they did or why they reacted how they react.
Yeah.
With that being said, I mean, because you like sight fishing, you obviously need clear water or clearer water, which we have a lot of in the northern lakes up here. But that's not easy because if you can see the fish, they obviously can see you as well.
Right, and that goes into what I said. It's not just a bait or a cast. It's a
Yeah.
whole the way. It's just like
The whole approach to
It's
it.
just like hunting a deer, right? Like you
Yeah.
are. I mean, the
Can't-
way that I have my trolling motor set up, how
Yeah.
I'm using my trolling motor, all of that, the way I'm approaching an area.
Yeah.
It's all specific to stalking that fish and
Yeah.
being stealthy, and you know it's paid off for me. I mean, I've caught my 7-pounder that I caught. I watched it.
Yeah.
Like I didn't watch him eat, but I watched him in
React.
yes,
Yeah.
and I knew I was like, oh, that one's he's gonna eat it.
You throw your bait out, you see him turn.
Led him perfectly. And
Yeah.
quartered him, 45'd him on this little rock.
So was
vein.
he in this particular fish? Now, granted, let's just say a 7-pound smallmouth is like it's a dinosaur.
Yeah,
I mean, an absolute world-class fish. I mean, they don't just grow on trees. You can't just catch them every day. Some people don't catch them in a lifetime.
right.
We're fortunate enough in our state that they are here and we can catch them. What would before I go to that story, how old is a 7-pound smallmouth?
There's estimates all over the place, but I mean, 15 years
Yeah.
would
Yeah.
be a safe guess. I mean,
That's incredible.
There's a lot of studies that say some of those true big ones are actually
Yeah.
growing a lot faster than the average.
Okay.
Right, like they're kind of a genetic
Freak. Sure.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. So explain to me this situation where you caught this smallmouth. How it like kind of just paint a picture of how it's set up for you.
I can remember it. Like I can see it clear as day.
Okay, perfect.
Exactly this moment. And so I was sight fishing out on the Great Lakes, and I was cruising shallow, and it was one of those warm spring days.
Okay.
You know, it was just that first day that you could take your t-shirt, you know, just out in a t-shirt.
Sure.
And I'm out there cruising, just creeping along these shallow rock areas.
Okay.
And I was catching some 3s, some 4s,
Mm-hmm.
and I come up over a spot. I mean, you couldn't even get the boat across it. It was so shallow.
Okay.
I mean, it had to have been less than a foot.
Oh wow.
Like you could not get the boat over top of it.
So is this like shoreline? or-
Shoreline.
Okay.
Like
Okay.
the ridge kind of stuck off a little bit off the bank.
Okay.
But I was basically on the shore.
Okay.
You know, within 30, 40 yards of it.
Nice.
And I can remember I just see these 2 dark marks just ever
Kinda
so
lurking.
slowly cruising along.
Yeah. And granted, the rocks out there are probably mainly kind of a whitish color, or, you know.
Yeah, these ones were really easy to see.
They stuck out.
We had talked about some lakes up north where they chameleon really well. These ones
Yeah.
stuck out like a sore thumb.
Okay.
I mean, they look like 2 tires.
Two
just
big black footballs rolling around. Yeah.
And these 2, they were paired up, 2 of them, and I can remember them. And they went up over that rock ridge, and I swear this fish had to turn sideways to get over top of it. It was so shallow.
So shallow.
And I saw him do that, and I led him perfectly. I was throwing a little 3-inch swim bait.
Okay.
Just led it perfectly, brought it, just timed it right to where they were coming down the ridge when my
Okay.
swim bait was coming there, and dropped it down, watched both fish go down, and it just
my
disappeared.
gosh.
And I was like, I know he saw it. I know he saw it.
Yeah.
Dunk.
You just feel this little weight.
Zzz.
Oh my
And
gosh.
I never realized how big it was. And I had drop shots because when I'm up there doing the shallow thing, you're throwing a million different baits at him.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I've got rods all over. He got tangled up in a drop shot at the net. And I mean, it was
Chaos. You were by yourself.
absolute,
Yeah.
absolute chaos. I was by myself. I get it in the boat, and immediately I was like, I look down. I'm like, oh, that's a giant. That's like a 6-pounder. And I
Right.
grab it, and I'm like, because I had caught 6.5s before. I'm like,
Okay.
that's a 6.5. And like,
Yeah.
I held it like this, and I'm like, how big is that thing?
Yeah.
And I put it on the scale, and it was 705. And I just,
Gosh, dude.
I'd been chasing that fish for 4 or 5 years at this point,
Yeah.
you know, and
Yeah.
to finally do it the way that I like to fish
Right. Yeah.
is just,
Yeah,
and
because it doesn't always happen that way. You know?
right. And to be honest, to be by myself, you know, the way that I grew up fishing,
Yeah.
and it was just in my shitty Ranger boat
Yeah.
with
Yeah. It's
no
like
electronics.
I've
and-
reached the top of the mountain.
Yep.
That's
That was-
awesome.
That was such an incredible moment. dude.
That is awesome how that plays out. So, have you ever seen or thought you seen a bigger than
Yes.
a 7?
Yes.
Really?
So I took one of my buddies out from work, and he doesn't fish, and he had caught. He was telling me about this 5-6 pound smallmouth he had mounted on the wall, and I took him out. Same thing, in the spring.
Yeah.
And he catches a 4-pounder in the first 20 minutes, and he goes,
Okay.
"That's bigger than the one I have on the wall."
Yeah.
And he catches a 7.25,
Oh my gosh.
726. It was 2 weeks after I had caught my 7.
Same sort of technique, same sort of setup.
Same bait, same. We
Really?
were doing the same thing.
Yeah.
We didn't see that one, but
Yeah.
they were crawling that day. And
That's
I saw
awesome.
ones that were just as big that I couldn't get to bite.
That's insane, dude. That's insane.
And I've hooked
yeah.
fish in that class. It's so hard to tell when you get to that range, though.
Yeah.
Like and you know the difference between, like, there's a big difference between a 5 and a 5.5 pound smallmouth.
Oh yeah.
And a 5.5 to a 6. And once you get above like that 6.5 range,
Yeah.
like, they all just look like freaks, and you
They're
don't
just
really
freaks.
know.
Yeah, you're just like, this is not the size that this fish should be.
Yeah, I don't know. I've never encountered something like this
Yeah,
before.
yeah,
Now,
yeah.
I'm not saying I've seen 8s or 9s or
Right,
anything.
Right.
But
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Do you? I mean, what is like your favorite technique outside of, I mean, sight fishing? Or what would you like? Let's just say this: if you got 5 rods on your boat, what's on them?
depends where we're going.
Okay.
I mean, it's very variable. I mean, if we're largemouth fishing, a jig.
Okay.
Everybody's got a jig tied on, right?
Okay.
I mean, it's a Michigan staple.
Yep.
A
Yep.
jig. I mean, some sort of finesse worm, whether it's
Yeah.
on a drop shot, a Nico rig, weightless, a Senko, any of those things, a frog.
Right.
Throw a
I guess
frog.
it depends on the time of year too. You
It
know,
really does.
coming into this early season, this early spring, cold temps, fish are going to be kind of sluggish, right? I would assume they'll be sluggish.
I mean, I can tell you what I'll have tied on tomorrow.
Yeah.
A jig, a swim jig, a chatterbait, a jerkbait,
Okay.
and a tube.
Okay.
And that's largemouth fishing.
That's largemouth fishing. Yeah. So
And it wouldn't change a lot for smallmouth.
no,
Not really.
no, yeah. Depending on where what about if granted you're going out, like, let's just say Saginaw Bay area in comparison to like an inland northern lake, same scenario, pretty much the same.
Might throw a crankbait on.
Yeah, yeah. If you can't do this, if you can't sight fish them, what are you looking for?
A lot of it has to do with what type of bait they're eating,
Okay.
what they're foraging on. So, like, that's the big adjustment. Like, when we went down south for Kentucky Lake
Yeah.
or Gunnersville, is everything's shad based down there. So it changes how the fish act, behave.
Makes total sense.
The only other places that we have shad is like Saginaw River, Saginaw Bay, any of the Great Lakes
Yeah.
and connecting waters.
Yep.
There is a shad based, but everything else is mostly crawfish and bluegill. So
Okay.
you're looking for places that the bait's going to be. Number one is I'm looking for an area with a lot of activity,
Okay.
whether that's bait fish, birds, anything, muskrats,
Yeah.
otters,
Really?
anything.
Okay.
More life means more life.
That makes total
turtles,
sense.
all sorts of stuff.
Yeah.
The reason that the seagulls are diving there, and especially down south, right, is
Yeah.
there's
got to be something there that they're diving for.
Exactly.
So, yeah.
There's if you see egrets poking along the shoreline, if you see bald eagles up in the trees, there's a reason that they're there.
Makes sense.
Turtles in the spring. That one's a juicy one. I'll let that one out. The turtle pattern.
That's a nice little pro tip there.
The turtle pattern. You go in a canal and there's no turtles. It probably doesn't have many bass in it.
Not much life in there.
Next time you go out in the spring and you start fishing a canal and you're really banging on the largemouth, look
around.
Look for turtles.
See all the turtles up on the logs or whatever that might be exposing themselves in the sun.
There's a reason.
Interesting. That's interesting.
That was actually when we were down on Kentucky Lake. That's what I told Mike. I said, so it was a bank thing. It had to be a specific type of bank, specific contours, all that. You could dial it into a pattern. I said, but the one thing I'm really noticing, turtles.
Yeah.
And he went out and independently found some stuff, and we fished it in the tournament. And we started rolling down. I said, "Look, Mike, turtle."
Yeah.
He's like, "You weren't kidding." I was like, "No, dude, the turtle pattern's a thing."
The turtle pattern is a thing.
The turtle pattern is a thing.
I never even would have guessed that. I would never even would have guessed that. That's awesome.
But yeah, I mean, all your generic basic stuff, right? Like if there's grass, if it's got wood, if it's got rock, the more things that you can add into it to make it more complex is making that spot better.
Yeah.
And then you can dial it into, is it a specific type of grass, specific size of rock, specific depth, all that stuff. If I'm going to a brand new lake, typically what I do is I just pick, I'll just throw out a random one, like Lake Charlevoix, because that one's got a lot of contours on it. I just pick the most complex piece of structure on the map.
Okay.
So if it's a giant main lake point that comes out, it's probably got rock on it somewhere.
Yep.
Just due to natural erosion.
Sure.
And then it's probably got an inside turn on it, and it's probably got a flat section. So I can go on that giant point and deduce, like, okay, they're on this section of the point, whether it's, it's got rock, it's got grass, it's got all these, it should hopefully have as many variables that I can deduce, and then run that around the rest of the lake.
Right.
And then you can really start dialing in a pattern.
Yeah.
So typically when I go to a new body of water, I pick the most obvious thing.
Do you spend a bunch of time like looking at the water and the contours and stuff before you even step foot on it?
Oh yeah. Every morning before work, I'm sitting in the morning meeting, I'm flipping through Navionics, I'm flipping through Google Earth, I'm looking at lakes I've looked at a million times, but I'm still...
but just looking for some little nuance or something that might change. That's a lot like a deer hunter who spend a ton of time on like Onyx or Spartan Forge or whatever. It's just a mapping app that tells you contours, shows stuff, and so I mean, you're just on the hunt for a big fish, really. So it's no different than on the hunt for a big buck. So.
Always studying, always trying to learn something. I mean, and then going out on the water and doing the work and double checking all that stuff. I mean, I can tell you in the next few weeks, I'm going to be going to places I won't fish for 6 months.
Really?
And just learning the lake.
Yeah.
I mean, like we said, you're kind of waiting until things warm up anyways for it to be really good fishing. So I'll take that time, and we talk about time on the water, but I really talk about like effective time on the water.
Sure.
Like if you're just out there aimlessly wandering, are you really accomplishing anything?
Right. Right.
So I always try to go out with some sort of a plan.
Okay.
Like, okay, these are the boxes that I want to check off.
Yeah.
Like when I'm doing my map study, I'll highlight certain areas with a snowflake icon on my Humminbird.
Yep.
And a snowflake just means this looks cool, I want to check it out.
Right.
So, and then instead of just going out on the lake and being like, well, I wanted to look at that spot and this spot, and then by the end of it, you're like, I didn't even look at half the stuff that I was hoping to look at.
Yeah. So I mean, you spend a lot of time just cruising the lake,
just
more so than fishing on a lot of. I mean, probably early season.
Yeah.
You just cruising the lake, checking things out, and dropping waypoints and stuff.
And it doesn't even need to be side imaging. It can be that Hubbard tournament that Ben and I fished. I mean, I went up there in March, and I just went up shallow.
Yeah.
I knew they weren't going to be shallow that day, but who cares?
Right.
I'm going to go look for the stuff that they should
be
on.
That they would set up on when the time is right.
Exactly. Because I've been on lakes before, and got on a really good pattern, really good bite, and it's like, God, if I just knew where that more of this was,
Right.
if I just knew where more of this was, if I had more that I could run, I wouldn't be where I'm at.
Just pre-scouting for when the time is right.
Yep.
And the conditions are right, and the fish are going to do what they want to do. You want to have a bunch of those spots in mind. So, yeah. Do you have a favorite lake? Let me ask you this: favorite lake, Michigan-based, that you would give up? Like, you don't have to say, but maybe a general area.
I mean, I would 2 years ago I would have told you Saginaw River.
Sure.
I mean, it was right by the house.
Right.
The frog bite out there used to be so good.
Yeah.
Now they're really smart out there from all the pressure. A lot of local tournaments after Sanford and Wixom left. It's so hard to say because I always tell people, like, I've been working some shows for Cashin and talking to some guys from out of state. My favorite part about Michigan is you can catch them however you want.
Right.
So it's kind of whatever I'm feeling that day.
Sure.
Right. Like I would say
different lakes offer up different ways of catching them.
So it's like, do I want to catch them deep, scoping? I can go to a lake that I want to go do that on, or what I want to learn. I mean, in terms of a favorite area, I mean, Clare, just this general area, you find an area with a bunch of those little pothole, 150 to 300 acre lakes.
Yeah, like they say, our Clare County, or I guess from like Harrison, it's like 30 lakes in 30 minutes or 30 miles or something like that. It's just a ridiculous amount of small lakes that you can get on.
And I can rattle off 5 in my head that I don't want to tell anybody about, where you can go out and catch 5-pounders.
Yeah. Yeah, they're here.
Within 15 minutes of the house here.
Right.
So there's all those. Anytime I can get on the Great Lakes, though, I mean, that's the place to be.
Yeah,
and I don't care which one. Pick one.
You almost need to have some sort of, well, one, you got to have a good boat if you're going to be on the Great Lakes because it's nothing to mess with. But would you feel that you almost need good electronics when you get out onto the Great Lakes?
If you're going for largemouth, you just need mapping.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense because you're just cruising shore.
Yeah.
You're just kind of cruising the shoreline. But if you get into, like, say, a smallmouth bite, I mean, I've gone out with Ben before, and I mean, miles.
Side imaging, 2D, and mapping.
Yeah.
And that's all pretty basic stuff at this point for most people.
Yeah.
All the stuff we were doing last fall, no live scope.
Yeah.
No live scope in any of that.
No. Just here's my spot. I know it's a good spot, and just start casting.
Old school triangulating waypoints.
Yeah. When it comes to fishing rods, I mean, bass fishermen tend to have a shit ton of rods on their boat.
Mm-hmm. I'm just as guilty.
I mean,
you should see when John and I get together.
I'm sure it's just littered with rods everywhere. So, I mean, the explanation for that is what? Just because you have every rod rigged up based off of what the fish are eating, so you can just quick. It's just more like for quick, especially if you're tournament fishing. There's time,
A lot of times we'll have doubles rigged up. Like doubles of this, so I don't have to re-rig. And on top of that, it's just like situational, right? Like I said earlier about the whole, I wish I had more of this. Like, there's how many times are you in a tournament or fun fishing where you're like, I should try that, but then I have to retie and put all this down and redo.
Just time.
Yep. And you won't do it. I think it's Dave Gens. It's an ice fishing quote. And he's like, if it's not easy, you won't do it.
That makes sense.
So if I have a rod rigged up with some obscure bait that maybe I won't throw today,
right?
Just maybe, and that's a lot of practice stuff.
Yeah.
Come tournament time, we don't really get that way. But practice, fun fishing, like just having that obscure rod that you can, let's just try
Let's just see what happens.
WWKD, what would Kevin do? That's John's dad. He's always throwing something goofy, but he's always the one that's trying and finding something
Looking
new.
for something different.
Yep.
Looking for something different. Yeah. Yeah. What, I know we talked about forward-facing sonar earlier before we were actually recording. And, I mean, it's relatively new, probably within, the last 5 years?
Longer.
Has it been out longer than
2016, 2017.
that? Okay. Okay.
Is when Panoptics came out.
Panoptics came out, yeah, with Garmin and stuff. So, I mean, your thoughts on that are what?
It's an incredible tool.
Yeah.
It's an incredible tool.
Yeah.
It has changed the way that we all fish. The people that have it.
Yeah.
It's instant feedback all the time.
Yeah.
It's sight fishing all the time. Not everybody always compares it to bed fishing. It's truly sight fishing.
Yeah.
And it's not just
It's seeing but not seeing.
yes, yes, and it's
Seeing
not
the
just
unseeable.
casting and catching. It's
Yeah.
a lot of it has to do with having that basic understanding
Mm-hmm.
and that instinct that you cultivated through not forward facing sonar.
Yeah.
And being able to read the fish on your screen and understand why they're doing what they're doing.
Yeah.
Is that fish going away from you? Is it,
Right.
and sometimes it's like, I'm using it, but I'm not. Like, I'm not using it to see fish sometimes. And certain times it's like that Kentucky Lake tournament, if you pulled them on scope, it was too late. Like, you wanted the one, at least for what we were doing, and we didn't win or nothing. For what we were doing, if you pulled them on scope, it was already too late. You wanted them to commit before then.
Yeah.
And I could know, okay, this is how I need to be casting my lure.
Right.
I need my lure to hit the bank, and I need it to come down the bank and do this certain thing. Because if I don't, I'm pulling them too late. They're reacting to my lure too late, and it's already out of the strike window by the time that the fish is reacting to it.
Okay.
And I'm missing my opportunities.
Interesting. Yeah. What do you say to the guys that are against it?
Okay.
You do you, I'll do me.
Yeah.
As long as it's legal in tournaments, then I'm going to continue to use it.
Yeah, and I don't think it's unethical by any means.
Yeah.
It's
And I
not-
mean, I think that's the argument is a lot of people think that it's not fishing,
Yeah.
because it makes it competitive advantage, like
right.
A1 level,
Yeah, and a big part of that too goes back to like the learning curve aspect. It shortens the learning curve and the
Sure.
advantage that you had for years. And
Sure.
Typically, just stereotypically speaking, it's the older generation,
Yeah.
right? That's against
Of course, because we didn't have it.
it.
you
Right.
know?
And it took you years and years to develop all this understanding.
Yeah.
And now you're like, hey, dude, no shortcuts,
Yeah,
no
yeah,
cutting
yeah.
in line.
Yeah, hey, 20-some-year-old kid, like you're fishing as good as I am, and I'm triple your age.
It took me forever to find that spot.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
now you can find it that much quicker.
Yeah,
know?
yeah. I guess it's just get on board with technology or don't.
Right.
It's not stopping.
No,
It's
absolutely
not stopping. Yeah.
No, I think at some point, there is a line. I don't know what that line
Yeah.
is.
Do you think they'll ever have like no forward-facing sonar tournaments?
Well, they already have it for the MPFL.
they
just
do have
started
it
doing
already.
That. Yep.
Okay. All right. It's just not allowed.
Right. And you see, what's interesting is you see a lot of guys that scope jump into it, because they're like, I don't care.
Yeah. That's interesting.
That I would love to see the NPFL where a lot of the guys that are known as quote unquote scopers could jump in and do well.
Yeah.
Jason Christie won that first one on Santee, and how did he win Hartwell? Scoping and then flipping docks.
Yeah. Interesting.
He was one of the earliest users of live scope.
Yeah. Yeah. If you had an open-ended check and could fish wherever in the world, let's just say, doing, however you wanted to do it, what would it be? Where would it be?
This is all bass centric because I don't do anything else.
Because you told me today you don't travel much. You don't travel out of Michigan much, but there's a lot of great fishing outside.
Right.
Outside of our little iceberg.
Some of that stuff down south, like that Santee Cooper, like
Okay.
that cypress tree stuff, something like that,
Yep.
that Caddo Lake in Louisiana,
Okay.
and some of that, like Bussy Break, that looks fun.
Yeah.
Flipping jigs for 10, 12-pound largemouth, sign me up.
It'd be great. Yeah, it'd be
I
pretty
always
cool, man.
Tell people, like Gunnersville, if you ever get a chance to go to Gunnersville, go.
Mm-hmm.
Like Kentucky Lake was cool, but Gunnersville was it's a fish factory.
And for the people that don't know where Gunnersville is, that's down in, why am I?
Alabama.
Alabama. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, like northern Alabama?
Yep, northern
Yeah.
Alabama.
Yeah. And we have a mutual friend, Caleb. Why is his name strike
Bell.
me? Caleb Bell. Yeah, Bass Quest Charters. He goes down there, and is it in Gunnersville that he's normally fishing?
He's guiding primarily out of Chickamauga.
Out of Chickamauga.
That area, which is only a few hours north.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
but the fish that he is landing, like
That dude's so dialed.
double-digit
He's
fish
so
on a
good.
regular basis, man. It is insane. I see his stuff, and I'm just like, those are just, I mean, bucket list fish that he's putting in the boat, which is
100%.
incredible. And he isn't, yeah. He was somebody that I definitely wanted to get on the podcast because he, like you said, he is a wealth of knowledge.
A wealth of knowledge,
Yeah.
just super intelligent about it. And Caleb's one of those dudes that'll piss you off because he's just good at everything he does.
Yeah,
I mean,
and he's not cocky about it.
No,
at all.
No, but
Yeah.
it still drives you nuts,
Oh,
man.
yeah.
When we went and did that up north trip, I mean,
Yep.
he was catching smallmouth left and right, and then we come home and he's beating my ass at ping pong. Like, can you just not be good at something,
Just with
dude?
a smile on his face too. He's not even thinking twice about it. He's just like has this like kind of silent confidence to him. So,
But any of those places, some of that stuff out west for the smallies, I mean, that would be really cool to go do.
yeah,
I mean, anything and everything, man.
right.
Fish
yeah.
like Texas, the Lake Fork stuff. I mean, any of that stuff would be really cool.
Yeah, that would all be fun stuff to do. I just myself personally, like I love doing everything that's going on at the same time. Like,
Right.
like I said, when you guys are out there smashing them in the fall, I'm like, man, I'm just torn because I love salmon fish. I love deer hunting. I love going out and catching the smallies and bird hunting in the fall. There's so many great things that are happening in that time of year. But like you said, your biggest fish came in the spring.
Yep.
Not in the fall, which is your favorite time. So, which is, interesting in itself. So, what does this year look like for you? What are your plans or goals?
Goals is to fish 2 national championships again.
Okay.
I want to do well in the team series, English Choice, and Bass Master with John.
Okay.
And get the opportunity to fish at a national level again.
That would be cool.
Go out of the state and go do that and see where you really stack up.
Yeah.
Other than that, I mean, in terms of metrics, like catching big smallmouth, all that just happens.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like you can't say I want to catch this many 6-pounders or whatever. It just when it happens, it happens.
Right.
Just like the 7-pounder. Like
Yeah.
yes, that was a goal for a long time, but you can't force it to happen.
Yeah.
It just happens when it does. You need
Right.
to get as many shots on goal as you can. Spend as much time out there as you can. Don't leave anything on the table when you're out there. Like I said, like spending quality time on the water.
Yeah.
Like, you're not out there just floating around. And
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong, it's relaxing.
Yeah.
But if you want to catch those truly giant fish, like you need to be putting in the effort when you need to be.
Yeah, you need to have your game face on when you're out there. Because if you're just, granted, that's what got us all on the water was to just go have some fun and enjoy ourselves. But now you're kind of competing against yourself and
100%.
and just trying to always better yourself and better what you have done in the past as far as like size and, technique.
And that's when you said, when we were telling the story about the 7-pounder and you said, I finally got to the top of the mountain.
Right.
What I realized after that, there is no mountain.
Yeah.
It's just a road.
Yeah.
That goes like I'm just wired in a way where it's like no matter what you do, you're always going to want to chase the next thing.
Sure.
So take the time to appreciate these milestones that you're going.
Absolutely.
And don't worry about pushing or driving yourself because you're naturally wired to do that.
And I think that's a good way to kind of go through life in general. Don't set goals, but have realistic goals too.
And just realize that once you hit the goal, like that's not it. Like you're not done.
You're not done. It's never done. Yeah. Yeah. Do you do much like custom stuff? Do you pour your own baits or tweak your stuff at all?
Ben pours me all the stuff.
Yeah, Ben is very good at that. Pours a lot of plastics and stuff like that.
But in terms of getting tweaky and we do some on the water modifications, but there's no like super secret stuff.
You don't have like super secret stuff. Okay.
It's all stuff you can buy off the shelf.
Sure.
Don't get me wrong, there's stuff that we like it's kind of nichey or off the wall that we do.
Yeah.
But nothing like, oh, it's because I know this guy that has something in his basement that he's been doing for 35 years.
Sure. Yeah. And I'm sure there's people out there that have some, certain customized stuff like that. You always want to try and tweak something a little bit to just see how it works and whether it works good or not. So, yeah.
And the other thing, too, like that I've realized, the more competitive you get and the more you fish against guys that are really good, like there's no secret sauce.
Right.
You know, like there's no magic stuff that they're putting on their bait or what. They're casting at the same stuff you're casting.
Right.
They're just doing it a little better.
Right.
They're being more focused. They understand that, there may be, you may have fished that same stump as them, but they know that the fish sets up on the left side of the stump, not the right side. And they're making that left side cast 3 times. And you're just kind of aimlessly casting around this stump because you got bit off of it before. Understanding, and that's where that live scope or sight fishing or just being attentive to how you're getting your bites
kind of fills you in a little bit on how the fish are actually set up.
It fills you into everything.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know, guys, like while you were working upstairs, I was watching, and they were talking about how like the morning bite guys were fishing and hitting spots and doing all the same things. But they were saying that the afternoon you could go fish that same spot and the fish will set up totally different because of a little small
100%.
warm up or, that things would heat up just based off of weather.
Understanding your timing and all of that that's part of tournament fishing.
Yeah.
That's part of what rolls into.
Yeah. And that's another thing that I guess I'd be curious on your take on it. Weather wise, how much does weather play a role in how you fish?
It does, but I'm going fishing anyway.
Regardless,
I'm going fishing. I used to pay attention to the moon and timing,
barometric pressure, and all that stuff.
I'm going anyways. What's it matter?
It doesn't matter at that point. You're going because that's just what you want to do, fun wise.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now it does. There's definitely certain lakes where, we have an understanding, and I say we is like my collective inner circle group of guys that fish together. We know that you go to this place when the weather is like this. That's your shot to do something freaky.
Yeah.
I had a 26.5 pound bag on inland smallmouth this last spring, and you could have called that was the day it was going to happen because it was
just based off the weather.
Nastiest, worst, rain, cold all day.
Yeah.
I mean, it was miserable. My neck was sore from shivering. It was that cold out, all and just wet and nasty. But that's when the big ones bite out there. That's when you have your shot at doing something freaky.
And that's just based off of what, like past history that you kind of know. Yeah.
Yep. Some places you want bright, like that same lake, big largemouth in it too.
Yeah.
And you want bright sun, so they'll get up under the boat docks. But you also need boat traffic.
Okay.
To make them go under the docks. If the out-of-towners aren't up there riding pontoons and towing tubes behind the boat, for some reason, those fish don't get under docks.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's something super sneaky or whatever.
I think
but
you
that's
and I
what
were
we
talking
noticed.
about. We were talking about that earlier today about how the fish set up during the week in comparison to the weekend, and how you would fish based off of that traffic. Some fish, they don't mind the boat traffic because that's just what they're used to.
Every place is different.
Yeah.
I was talking about the boat wake pattern and how some places they use it, some places they don't. And it's
interesting.
The only way that is by going out and trying it.
Yeah, and that's the one thing. Once you think you have it figured out, and then what you think is figured out completely goes south on you, and you're like, well, I guess I got to start over.
Right, right. And it's not mathematical.
Right.
Right, like that was what I kind of started trying to do, was create some sort of mental math equation where I could say this plus this plus this equals big bass, and it's like you just gotta adjust and pay attention to what's happening around you. And that's what equals big bass, is paying attention to what's happening and adjusting to what they're doing.
Right.
You can't make them do something.
Yeah, that's interesting. Do you catch them much on topwater?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Yeah. You ever like fly fish for them or anything?
No fly fishing. Come on.
That's the trout guy in me coming out. Like, let's get snooty.
Yeah. No, Josh.
You're chucking a chunk of lead or a piece of rubber out there at them on some heavy braid. Yep. So yeah, that's funny. So let me ask you this. This has nothing to do with bass fishing, but more just kind of to give people a vibe of like who you are and kind of how you roll. So music wise, Do you have music playing while you're out there on the water?
Sometimes.
Yeah. What's
Yep.
what's your jam? What are you rocking while you're out on the water?
It depends on the vibe.
Okay.
So honestly, man, a lot of Jimmy Buffett.
Okay.
That
Hey,
is
yeah.
that is my vibe while I'm out
Okay.
there.
All right. Yeah.
A
Yeah.
lot of Jimmy Buffett
Yeah.
and kind of that a lot of bluesy stuff.
Okay.
You know, like
Yep.
bluesy country. Not sad.
Right.
My dog died. My
Right.
wife left me. Kind of.
Not to like you want your emotions to just kind of be on a level plane.
I want to be mellow.
Yeah.
Like that is something in tournament fishing.
Right.
Like I talked to Ben about it too,
Yeah.
because it's like, okay, there's up here and there's
Yeah.
down here, and we want to be like right here
Somewhere in the middle.
all the time. Like if
Yeah.
we can just stay right here, like we'll make better decisions. We'll
Sure.
do smarter things.
Sure. Because it's weird for me, like when I'm out on a boat or whatever, there are certain times where I just want to be in absolute silence and I just want to hear the water.
Yep.
And I want to hear the birds and just the natural kind of surroundings. And then there's other times where you want music going and I swear sometimes that music, the fish, and this just is total me thinking like the fish feel that vibe or the whatever
Yeah,
coming off the speaker and
there's-
stuff like that. I
there's
mean,
a
I don't know.
lot-
Do you get that kind of vibe at all?
There's
or-
a lot to be said about like just the general vibes in the boat.
Yeah.
Like whether it's by yourself, or especially
Yeah.
with a team partner.
Yeah.
If you're fishing team tournaments, you gotta be with someone that you can jive with.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it just don't work.
You just feel like you're just fighting it all the time.
Yeah, it's just like your spouse, man. Like if you're
Yep.
constantly arguing, disagreeing,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
no, that don't work.
That's true, man. Yeah.
But yeah, I think you fish better when you're just at that right stage. And Jimmy
Yeah.
Buffett just gets me there,
that's
man.
that's your get you into that zone. Yeah. Yeah, that's cool. What like playlist wise, what do you I mean aside from Jimmy Buffett, what do you got on your radio?
Oh, dude, I'm all over the place. I mean, sometimes it's rap music, like big 50 Cent Fridays kind of guy. Sometimes
Okay.
Fridays, it's a 50 Cent day.
Okay.
That
All right.
kind of radio. Van Halen. Just
You're,
that
see,
general
you're just
Van
like
Halen
me, man.
radio.
I can go from Van Halen to hardcore rap to like orchestrated, like
Yep.
really Mozart type stuff, to
Rolling
country.
Stones,
Yeah.
some, and then some old country too.
Yeah.
George Strait, Merle Haggard, that kind
I
of
love that
stuff.
stuff too, man. Yeah.
Or
I
even
knew you and I jived on for a reason, man. Yeah, yeah, that's cool, dude. Well, I'm super happy that you were able to come over and sit down with me. You were kind of on my short list of guys, and it's just weird how it happened that you were able.
just worked out.
It just worked out. So, and I'm like, well, if I'm gonna get you over here, I'm gonna try and get you, throw on a headset and shoot the shit with you. So, but I really appreciate you coming on, man. I
Yeah.
hope we can do it again. Maybe we can get some other guys in here, some, like Ben or Caleb or who knows, anybody that it would be fun to sit down and do one of these during like one of those fall
The boys'
fishing
weekends,
trips.
yeah, absolutely.
Little round table. We can get some guys like Brian Evie who's actually works for Bass Master and stuff like that. I love hearing the stories, man. I love hearing the stories. Get a few drinks and just chill out. So, but anyway, where can people find you?
I'm just on Facebook and Instagram.
Facebook and Instagram,
Yep.
Nathan Derdowski.
Yep, and then on Instagram, I am Dirty Derds. All
Dirty
my friends
Derds.
call me Derds.
Dirty Derds. Yep.
Derds, and dirty is spelled Derdy.
So yeah, like if you guys want to see some cool fishing content, Nathan is always showing some cool stuff, especially during the season, and you might catch a little tidbit there of information too. But
I try to stay sneaky, but
you gotta
sometimes I let some stuff out on
yeah,
accident.
there you go, man. There you go. So anyway, thanks again for coming on, dude. I appreciate it.
Anytime.
Okay, guys, appreciate it. If you guys like the podcast, please go in, leave a 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and then we just we love having you guys on and listening in, and hopefully you listen in each and every time. We'll try to put them out at least every other week anyway. So, okay, man, thanks again. Appreciate y'all. Take care.